So there's obviously a lot of progress is happening. If we look around us, we are right now, I think 70% of MENA countries have made some sort of pledge around net zero on emissions, which is a very big part of the region. If we look at consumer sentiment, every survey also shows that consumers are getting more and more aware and more sensible around how do they think about environment friendly, how do they think about carbon emissions, how do they choose kind of the products or services that they go to. And we're also seeing increasingly companies and corporates making either certain commitments, making specific actions. If we look more on the progress in terms of real lighthouse projects, we have, for example, now the hydrogen project that's been announced on the Red Sea, which is a very big part of what's happening. But also we have carbon capture initiatives that are happening, a whole set of other initiatives. And finally, obviously, forums like we are here in today, like we had COP28, obviously positions also the region really at the forefront of this kind of movement into sustainable energy transition and so on. So obviously still quite a bit of journey ahead of us for the region, but also for the whole world. But the evolution in the region, I believe, has been quite rapid and quite impressive over the past years. So first of all, the country, or many of the countries in the region, still have a dual kind of role, which is quite, which is important to manage. Which is, first of all, they are one of the biggest, most reliable energy suppliers of the world in conventional energy, and they will continue to be for a long period of time. At the same time, they are taking a very important role in the renewable energy transition. A number of things that are already happening. I think there's been clear visionary leadership at a national level in order to set the ambitions, set the targets, and also set the direction for various government entities, but also the private sector. We've seen a huge amount of movement that has been made, in the kind of gathering the communities. We've seen, I think, at the national level, at the large companies, a huge amount of commitments that have been put forward as well. I think what can be further done to accelerate is continue on all of the things that I just mentioned, but one, mobilizing the smaller companies within the economy. I think we're earlier here in a panel where they said 25% of emissions are driven by SMEs, and mobilizing those and getting those along in the journey will be very important. The second part that's going to be quite important is to set even better guidelines and standards around disclosure, around reporting, because one of the big challenges as we go ahead in this journey is to really make sure that we measure progress, report progress, and then also can course correct as we go along. So we have a lot of the building blocks in place. I think the acceleration in terms of engaging the SME part of the economy and pushing further on disclosures and reporting in terms of standards and transparency will be quite important. I think the first important starting point is that this region has a long history of energy, which means that a lot of the infrastructure that is in place, a lot of the mechanisms that is in place, the government, the decision making, and a whole energy ecosystem, I think will enable it to not only be a leader in the conventional energy, but also over time renewable and sustainable energy. The second part, there's a lot of natural advantages that the region is. There's a lot of ability to create relatively low-cost renewable energy. There's a lot of available land to deploy renewable energy solutions. There's an important amount of quite low-cost capital that is available that can go into these solutions. And there is a set of policies, as mentioned earlier, that I think is geared towards driving this transition and driving really this evolution towards renewable energy. So I think all of the ingredients for this region to play a very important role, not just in transforming the energy mix in the region here, but also to be able to export that, are clearly in place. Then the journey is long. There's a lot of capital that has to be deployed, a lot of projects that has to be made, but I'm quite confident that indeed the region can continue to play a central role in the global energy